I need you to hear what I am about to say with every part of you that is capable of receiving it. Because what happened in the spiritual realm on your behalf in the last several hours is something that heaven decided you could no longer go without knowing. My name is Michael. I am the Archangel of War and Protection, and I was not sent here today with a gentle, encouraging message designed to make you feel warm for a few minutes before the reality of your day pulls you back under. I was sent here with a report, a specific detailed report about what I just finished doing in the invisible realm that directly surrounds your life, and what I found there when I arrived, and what the condition of that realm looks like right now compared to what it looked like before I showed up. And the report is this: every single force that has been operating against your peace, against your finances, against your health, against your relationships, against your purpose, against your sleep, against your clarity, against your confidence, against your ability to receive what God has been trying to get to you. Every one of them has been confronted, dismantled, and removed. Not weakened, not temporarily pushed back, removed. And you need to know that because the way you carry yourself tomorrow morning is going to be completely different once you fully understand what is no longer standing in the way of your life. I want to tell you what I found when I arrived in the atmosphere surrounding your life, because understanding what was there helps you understand the full weight of what just changed. There were forces of delay that had been specifically assigned to the financial dimension of your life. Not general bad luck, not random economic circumstances, but targeted spiritual resistance that was operating like a dam between the provision that God had released for you and the actual physical reality of your bank account and your daily experience of money. Every time you got close to a breakthrough, something would happen to reset the progress. Every time momentum started building, something would knock it back. That was not coincidence, and it was not your fault. And it was not evidence that God had not released what you needed. It was interference, deliberate, strategic, sustained interference from forces that understood what your financial freedom would mean for your destiny and decided that keeping you financially constrained was worth the investment of their energy. Those forces are gone now. The dam is broken. And what God released for your financial life a long time ago is now flowing toward you without anything blocking its path for the first time in longer than you realize. There were also forces that had been working against the peace in your mind, the thoughts that would not quiet down at night, the anxiety that showed up without an obvious trigger, the sense of dread that would settle over you sometimes for no reason you could identify and that would take hours or days to fully lift. The mental heaviness that made simple decisions feel complicated, and complicated decisions feel completely overwhelming. Those were not just stress. Stress has natural causes and natural solutions, and what you have been experiencing in your thought life has had a dimension to it that went beyond what natural explanations could fully account for. There was something feeding it, something that understood that a person whose mind is constantly overwhelmed and anxious and exhausted cannot hear the voice of God clearly, and cannot move confidently toward their destiny, and cannot maintain the kind of focused, intentional faith that activates breakthrough. Keeping your mind noisy was a strategy, and that strategy just lost its ability to operate in your life, because I dismantled the source of the noise, and what remains in the atmosphere of your mind right now is a quietness that is going to feel unfamiliar at first, because you have not experienced it in so long, but that is going to become the new normal for you going forward. I found forces working against your relationships, and I want to address this specifically because the relational damage of the last season has been one of the most painful parts of everything you have been carrying. Connections that felt like they should have held but did not. Misunderstandings that seemed to come out of nowhere and escalated faster than made sense. A distance that crept into relationships that used to feel close and that neither person could fully explain or seem to be able to close no matter how much effort went into trying. The isolation that accumulated quietly until you looked up one day and realized that the circle of people you could genuinely trust with the real version of what you were going through had gotten significantly smaller than it used to be. That did not all happen naturally. There was something accelerating the fractures and feeding the misunderstandings and widening the distances, because isolated people are easier to discourage and harder to restore than people who are surrounded by genuine community. That something has been removed. And the relational landscape of your life is about to begin a restoration process that is going to surprise you with how quickly genuine connection can return when the interference that was working against it is no longer present. Now, I need to tell you something about yourself that the forces I just removed had been working very hard to prevent you from knowing, because this particular truth, once it fully lands in a person, changes everything about how they move through the world. You are not behind. You have not missed your window. You have not been so slowed down by everything that was working against you that the life God intended for you has passed, and what is left is a diminished version of what could have been. That is a lie that was being actively maintained in your belief system by the very forces I just dismantled, and now that they are gone, it does not have anything holding it in place anymore. The truth is that every day of delay that was caused by the interference has been accounted for. God does not look at a life that was held back by forces it did not choose and decide that the person is simply out of time and has to settle for less. He looks at that life and he recalculates. He restores the years. He accelerates the timeline. He positions things in such a way that what should have taken a decade can happen in a season when the interference is removed and his hand is free to move without obstruction. Your timeline has been recalculated. Your acceleration is beginning. And the life that the interference was trying to prevent you from living is still fully available to you and is about to begin arriving faster than you are currently prepared for. The last thing I want to tell you before I close this message is something about your identity that needs to be permanently settled in you before the breakthrough arrives, because people who do not know who they are have a very hard time sustaining the blessings that come to them. You are not someone who things happen to. You are not a passive recipient of whatever circumstances the world decides to hand you. You are a chosen, covered, specifically purposed individual whose life was written by God before the foundation of the world, and whose destiny has never once been in the hands of the forces that were trying to redirect it. Everything they threw at you did not work permanently because it could not work permanently. You are always going to be here. You are always going to make it to this moment. You are always going to be standing on the other side of the warfare, reading these words and feeling something shift in the deep place inside you, where the real decisions about who you are and what you are capable of actually get made. That is not luck. That is destiny refusing to be denied, regardless of how much resistance was thrown at it. And now that the resistance has been removed, destiny is about to move at the speed it was always supposed to move at. And you need to be ready, because what is coming is going to require a version of you that knows exactly who they are and is not surprised by their own blessing when it finally arrives. If you felt something shift while reading this today, if something in your chest got lighter, if a breath released that you did not realize you were holding, if the specific area of your life that has been under the most pressure suddenly felt slightly less impossible than it did an hour ago, type "Michael cleared the way and I am walking through" in the comments right now, because that declaration is the moment you step into the cleared atmosphere with full awareness of what just happened and full intention to walk forward without the weight that was removed. Drop your name below, because every name here today is being covered and yours belongs on that list. And share this with someone whose life has felt inexplicably stuck, because what was working against them may be the same thing that was just removed from yours, and they need to know that heaven has not forgotten them either.